Welcome to another recorded live event supporting our most recent Living Resilience introductory course, Collateral Beauty. This course, designed to challenge and resource both newcomers and the very experienced in the Collapse-Aware and Collapse-Acceptant communities. Each recording in this series is from either the Saturday or Tuesday online Zoom gatherings intended to deepen an embodied and shared experience of this inner work of collapse in the course called Collateral Beauty. All right, welcome. This is the second Saturday group practice session for the Collateral Beauty course here in the springtime of 2024, being 4 Saturdays in April and 2 more in May. And really pleased to be able to put out these recordings to all of you who will be watching it at a time that works for you rather than the time that they're scheduled for. A reminder that we also have Tuesday sessions in those same weeks. So this coming Tuesday will be session number 2 of the Tuesday group practice sessions. And I'm just really enjoying putting these particular, what we're calling group practice sessions together for this round of the Collateral Beauty course. It really gives me and anyone else who happens to show up for the live session, like this recording, for us to be able to have spontaneous conversations, some Q&A, some explorations that might be particularly important to the person who's come on for that session. And also really an opportunity for me to articulate what matters most to me about this work, because it's as much a participate, this is an opportunity to participate as much as it is to be coordinating and facilitating these group practice sessions. So again, welcome. Hopefully you have found the Living Resilience community space and you've signed up for this course and you've gone and visited the menu for the course. In fact, I'm going to review just a little bit about the last week's introductory first session, and then showing you a little bit about the menu for this coming week, what the elements are that have been curated for this coming week. So let's do that. All right. So here we are in the Collateral Beauty Inner Work of Collapse course materials page, which you can scroll down through all the different aspects, the different sessions of the course, and of course the many different deep dive elements that have been supplied for you if you're into that kind of thing at the end of it. So let's just do a brief recap for last week. Hopefully you did watch the first group sessions for last week, and you got our assignment, if you will. I don't really like it, have those words, but is the suggested materials, especially for those who are cramped for time. We suggested that you start out with these overview elements at the very beginning. And if you only had time for one, we asked that you do the Stages of Awareness 2023. So that's, you can see that right in the middle of your screen. And So that really is such an important shared language that we use through all the weeks of this course, and then all the various advanced courses that you might want to move into after completing Collateral Beauty. So the second uh, element that we strongly suggested last week, that if you only have time in any of these sections, we'd try to narrow it down to just one. And for that one, the closest we could get was two. And so you'll see at the top of that section, section one, accepting what is a presentation by the late Michael Dowd that he called The Big Picture, which was a presentation for the Canadian Club of Rome group early in 2023, which is, I think, his most concise and clear presentation ever. It's just my opinion about the inevitability and really the unavoidability of collapse in our lifetime of the civilization that we call normal. Now, this is an extraordinarily large assertion, and I'm aware of that. Michael Dowd is very aware of that, and a number of other people that you'll be seeing pieces of their work included in various sections of this course and elsewhere in this work. The distinction of being collapse acceptant as opposed to being collapse aware is quite a strong and important one. Um, so he nudges into the collapse acceptant distinctions, and you will hear more about that later in this course, and especially in the long form material after the 6 sections that we'll be exploring in the proper 6 weeks of this course. So anyway, Michael Dowd, The Big Picture. Hopefully you've seen it. And hopefully you also have been kind of getting the idea that we are strongly suggesting that you have a journal with you every time you tap into this material, whether it's watching the videos or reading an article in this coursework, even watching the sing-along songs and the other types of beauty that we intentionally are including with every section of this course. We're suggesting that even with those lighter elements, the songs, the poems, the art videos, and so on, that there could be quite a bit of value in taking some time to write in your journal, create some journaling prompts for yourself with each element that you engage with, and some conversation prompts as well. Hopefully you have people close to you with whom you can have some discussions about this, the most challenging conversation in human history. So that's 2 of the 3 suggested elements from last week. The third and final one, from as a reminder for last week, was guided meditation that's called Wider Embraces. There was also this suggestion that you might, if you have the space for it, be interested in taking it on and doing it more than once. In fact, more than once a week. In fact, maybe 2 or 3 or more times each week for the duration of the course. This is asking a lot. All of the elements that I've just described are very new and quite kind of extreme compared to the earlier evolutionary stages that this course has gone through. We're including things here in the first section of this course that are really out of order from the past iterations of this work. And it's really intentionally that way. So we would love your feedback to know, has it been disturbing? Has it been too much, too fast? Has it been just about right? Are you inclined to take on in any kind of a serious way any of the embodied practices? These are questions that we would very much appreciate your feedback on in any and all of the sections of this course. That's about all there is to say in terms of a review of the first section and the introductory work implied last week. And so let's move on quickly to just a brief overview. It's far less material for this section 2 in this second week. So looking ahead into this material, there's a brief welcome, and then there's Facing Extinction, which is a remarkable essay read in an audio only recording by the author Catherine Ingram. And this is the only place you'll find this Facing Extinction essay in any form. Catherine Ingram requested that I take down the copies that I had up publicly. Now I have them only for in-house use, like here, for you to be able to read or listen to. And I just have to say, it's one of the most extraordinary expressions and summaries of this time of existential challenge for humanity. She's quite an author and a presence in this world. And so very much recommend that you do, in fact, listen to that, her reading that essay. Another really core piece in this section 2, this week 2 of Collateral Beauty, is a very dear friend of mine and of this work. And I am a great fan of Jack Adam Weber's authorship, his many profound postings on Facebook. I am not on Facebook much, but when I'm on there, I make a beeline to Jack Adam Weber's contribution in that space. He is a healer. He's a Chinese medicine trained healer, and he is also a wounded healer of a number of different kinds. That I would say that his work with people to integrate and to heal and to understand and to be alive with the whatever trauma they may have experienced in their life and that they're working with at any given time. This is a topic that is in his more advanced work. What we're looking at right now on the screen, you'll see his little picture there, and it says S2 Embodied Learning, First Aid Level Resilience Skills and Self-Regulation. And that's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what this title of this section is first aid level resilience skills. And he walks us through a long menu of actually leads us in, if we are to follow in an embodied fashion, he leads us in a long list of ways of scanning our body, becoming more and more aware of our body through the basic elements. And there is no more basic element in this particular aspect of the stages of awareness in Paul Chafurka's stages of awareness model, and the many skills or practices or resources that one could avail themselves of at each level. This is about as good as it gets in terms of just well laid out, clearly described, and facilitated in this session. So I hope you find that very, very enjoyable. I'll make a note here that my experience is that this is a hard sell. This particular level, this first step above or beyond the business as usual bottom of the Paul Chafurka scale, this next level that we're stepping into with this session is the one problem level. And you may recall, if you've read the Paul Chafurka paper up in the first introductory section and watched the Stages of Awareness video, this is where one problem shows up in a person's life sufficiently that they are knocked off center. It gets their attention. The world gets this person's attention. And why I say this is a difficult or a hard sell for this kind of training in these skills is, unless we're experiencing something like in our area here, I live in Southern Oregon. About 3 years ago, we had a massive fire, and it in 24 hours put 10,000 people out of their homes and many out of their businesses as well. And that, in this relatively small valley, was a massive, massive traumatic event. And so I hope you can understand the scale and the amount of rebuilding and challenge and struggle that involved, and the disruption of people's normal lives. So one of the first key points in talking about these first aid level resilience skills is oftentimes what it takes to get our attention that something is not quite right in our world one way or another is that it takes the form these days for many people around the world in terms of one kind or another of massive disruption. It can be a hurricane, a fire, a flood. So you get it about the natural disasters, and one need only watch the news to be able to see the litany of those type of events. So each one of those implies a massive disruption for the hundreds or thousands or even millions of people. This can also include just any aspect of war, which of course we have some very large scale wars going on. And the amount of disruption, on top of whatever death and injury and mayhem that the war is causing, there's also the disruption of entire communities, entire nations. There's in Yemen, it's estimated that more than 8 million people have been disrupted and their lives disrupted and upended, and making them refugees of one kind or another. So you get the idea. There are a number of ways that life can deal us a hand of extraordinary challenge and disruption. And the word that is very important here for our practices and purposes is the word dysregulation. Yeah, dysregulation. And I'm going to shift us out of that screen. There we are. Hi. So with dysregulation, what that means is that if I'm in my daily normal state, I have some amount of a center, a feeling in my body that is very familiar. I feel at home and comfortable to some degree in my daily life. And again, I call this normal. And this, what we were just talking about, is the way that these days there are any number of very large scale and sometimes very small and intimate scale things that can take us off center, whether it's a large scale war, disaster, and so on, or it's a very personal thing like a relationship upset or problems with parents and children or next door neighbor or any number of things. on a very personal level, can also dysregulate us, take us off center. So, really, the skill set that we're talking about here is well, I often call it first aid level resilience skills. So, with first aid level resilience skills, we start with the assumption that somebody is uh, grappling with an uninvited guest in their system. Knock them off, some event, some occurrence, some uh, disagreement, some, uh, yeah, some scale, some disruption has occurred in their life to knock them off center and to take them into a dysregulated state. The more extreme the disruption and dysregulation, the more extreme the symptoms tend to be. They can range from just being a little bit disoriented and a little bit distracted and can't quite, take that argument that you just had with your spouse out of your system, out of your brain. It's distracting you all morning at work or whatever. These are relatively smaller signals that you're dysregulated, that you're not nearly as present as you usually are. Then, as the traumatic or dramatic scale of the dysregulation gets larger, we can have literally life endangering symptoms. This could be a raise in blood pressure, it can be stress levels, anxiety. It can also be very different for different people. There's be people who are knocked off center and into a more depressed state, a more disengaged state, and no longer no longer as socially engaged as they might usually be at work or at home and relationship and so on. Let's talk just a little bit more about these extreme symptoms that can show up. This oftentimes can be called shock. Back in the day, that was one way of describing when a person is clearly just gone through a car wreck or something that has literally shifted their whole body awareness and presence, and their body is just trying to do what it takes to survive. There's a survival element here, and that is not graceful usually. It's not something that you can easily make sense of. It can be very difficult to put words together and make sense. It can be actually so strong a dysregulation that we're dissociated from our body and have a difficult time being present with even people we love and people we're very close to. So these kind of extreme levels of dysregulation, uh, going back a few minutes ago when I mentioned that this can be a hard sell, really at any level, even the minor level of dysregulation and co-regulation or self-regulation to return ourselves back to center, they can be kind of a boring conversation for people. I've just noticed that, and it can be there's only a small number of people who, for some reason, perhaps it's their job or something that they are interested in anyway. It's only a small number of people that seem to really be interested without having a big dysregulation thing going on in their life at the moment. But boy, when it does kick in, whatever the event or events are that dysregulate us, come out of nowhere and bang, then it can be of much more interest. Like, oh my gosh, I'm here with my family and we're sleeping with 50 other families in the high school gym as the hurricane is walloping our neighborhood. And I'm noticing I'm barely able to be present here. I just, I can't make sense of, I don't feel comfortable in my body. I can barely be present to all these people around and even my own kids and so on and so on. So what you'll be seeing if assuming that you'll watch the Jack Adam Weber video and his running us through the actual experience of what it is to self-regulate, to bring ourselves back to center and co-regulate. And hopefully you can do that with others with you. So perhaps you could get a couple of you watching the video at the same time and then being able to share about that experience at the end of it. Self-regulation and co-regulation. I guess all I'll say is I really hope that you will do this. These are essential skills, and it is very difficult to come anywhere near mastering these skills to the point where they're quite normal or they're something that you can easily just pull out of your own pocket, so to speak, and do even when you're dysregulated. Because when we're dysregulated, chances are we won't remember much unless we've practiced it. Hence, going back to the most bare bones elements, the cornerstones of self-regulation and co-regulation at this first aid level. One is breath. That seems to be the ultimate cornerstone in this world of self-regulation and co-regulation and basic resilience skills. So let's do that. Let's do a bit of the basics. We're going to start with breath and keeping it simple. There is something to be said for the millennia of core contemplative skills from almost every wisdom tradition has some amount of core body awareness, core awareness of breath, certainly of yoga and many of the contemplative traditions available now everywhere in meditation and so on. We will start with breath. So I'm just noticing that I'm not feeling as centered as I would like. I would feel like my center of gravity is up here instead of down here by my navel. I notice carrying a little tension in my shoulders and in my diaphragm. And it tends to come, I think, from that I have been in presentation mode and not paying quite as much attention as I usually do of pulling down a full breath, which I know that I'm doing when I do what I just did, and I'm going to do again, is I breathe in. And that's the first half of my breath is my shoulders, my chest expand. And now the last part of it is my belly sticks out. That last extra bit of air is all the way down to my belly is full. And so please notice for yourself. Please be easy with yourself. This is not about being perfect right out of the gate. This is really about noticing what your system does. What is the default mode in your breathing, in your body on just a normal day without I hope you're not experiencing any major trauma or drama or anxiety at this time. Perhaps you are, in which case I would invite you to stay with your breathing and stay with what you're noticing. Do as I was just doing a scan of your own body and noticing how deep are you allowing your breath to go. And I notice as soon as I put my attention on my body and my breath, I slow down. That's a cue. that as soon as I bring my attention into my body, it knows what to do. I've been practicing this for decades. And so it's something that I can do, and I know I can do, even when I'm extremely dysregulated. And I've been so thankful for that depth of practice and the skills that I now can count on being there, even when I'm under extreme stress. I'm also cued to slow down a little bit. I'm noticing that I'm, in my own experience of listening, I'm speaking more slowly, more deliberately in in this conversation with you right now, this one-way conversation. These are cues that you can do right in the middle of a job interview or whatever kind of stressful conversation in real time. And nobody needs to know that you are, in some small way, perhaps, self regulating. You're regulating your system, you're bringing yourself back to center. It's quite an important skill. Let's keep using the example of a job interview. You only have a certain amount of time in this interview. And if you have enough presence to notice that that last question that the person asked, you could feel a tensing up in your stomach or a particular shortness of breath, like all of a sudden you're breathing in a more shallow and rapid way. And just things to notice. Maybe a little bit of tension in your jaw. These are advanced skills. These are the kind of skills that you'll be learning this type of scanning when you do the Jack Adam Weber um, basic skills video. And so you might want to make that a habit for a bit until you find the next level and the next level of these skills. Perhaps you've had a long time contemplative practice, and there are innumerable embodied practices available for us now. You are certainly welcome to contact me and us here in Living Resilience because we have an entire advanced practices menu and groups in which that's what we do is advanced practices of creating a center and a coherence in our own bodies and our own in personal space, also a sense of coherence and relatedness and connection and center when we're having conversations, when we hold space for one another in these advanced practices groups. So if this type of learning is of interest to you, please contact us about our community of practice or any of the many, many references we can offer you to seek out more specialized deep dive material in self-regulation, co-regulation, coherence, and relationship. Each of those is just another step in that Paul Chafurka's stages of awareness scale, just like the awareness starts to see larger and larger interconnections in this world. The practices that go along with each of those stages of awareness also imply an expansion of our sense of center, our expansion of that and those we feel with whom we feel related with deeper self, with other people, with earth, and with soul. So there's one little extra breath exercise practice as simple as it can possibly be that I would like to add to this session. And there will be more in next Tuesday's additional group practice sessions. I'd like to just invite us to take 3 minutes and be with our breath and be present to your body and to the moment that you are in watching this recording. Please start with just being present in your body. If you would like to see a very, very quick way of establishing how present are you in your body, one quick hint about that is to, I have my hands on my knees right now, and I'm going to just start gently squeezing my legs, my thighs. I'm just gently squeezing. And in a moment, I'm going to invite us to go back to that simple, full breathing. And I would invite you, if you would like to increase your awareness of your own embodied experience, you can start to do this very, very simple practice of, again, I'm just squeezing up and down my thighs. And it's completely fine. If you are inclined, you can then bring that same gentle squeezing first up one arm, perhaps up the other. All of this while just maintaining a simple, full breath. And let's do that for 2 minutes. For the remaining minute, if you're comfortable doing so, I would like to ask you to stop the squeezing on your body parts and notice. Notice whatever you notice in terms of sensation inside of you or anything that you're aware of outside of you. Please just notice. Okay. Now, assuming that you have something with which you can write, and hopefully that's a journal. Um, Again, just strongly suggesting have a journal with you in every part of this work. Um, yeah. So if you would take a few moments, take a couple of minutes to write down what you noticed in the different segments of that breathing and presencing time. What you noticed at the beginning in terms of sensation or feelings or thoughts. If you noticed anything with regard to the squeezing, the more embodied presence part of the exercise. And then at the end, if you were sitting in stillness, again, what you noticed. So take 2 minutes to write down anything that you noticed. Okay. Please continue writing if you'd like. Um, we're getting close to wrapping up this particular group practice session. A reminder that this kind of very basic self-regulation and co-regulation is foundational. It really is what by a cornerstone for this work. If you have it in you, if you have the space to do so, perhaps because it's shorter, you would like to just repeat this part of this particular Saturday session as a practice from time to time. You're certainly welcome to come back to this and use this in any way you like, as often as you like during this course and beyond. There will be more. We have an entire meditation and implicit senses training that starts us with this very basic level of meditation practice, and then involves more and more aspects of our inner workings. I have a kind of an unusual way of talking about that. I often talk about different bodies within this body. And each of those bodies has its own center. So let me just give you a little bit more about that, because I'd like you to just consider it, and perhaps you have your own jargon for how do you talk about, how do you discern between different parts of our experience as human beings, and how do you talk about them being centered or off-centered, and how can you include them in the self-regulation process. So let me give you those bodies so it's not so mysterious. There's obviously the physical body, and that's the number one body we're always talking about. And it really all happens inside this body, all these 5 bodies. We would also say that we have a feeling body. So where our emotions or our feelings are occurring in our body, and we have a way of being dysregulated with our feelings and self-regulating with those feelings and co-regulating with those feelings. I hope this is making sense, this odd jargon. We also have a mental body. And so we have distinct list of ways in which we culturally, at virtually every level, from the most intimate to the most global, we have far too many ways of being dysregulated, being off center in our mental body. We are mostly mental beings these days. We are not so much embodied beings these days. And certainly I think we're all very aware of how hijacked our attention is all the time, and how hijacked our ability to think for ourselves and have a center that we can call home inside of our mental body, so that we can literally make sense of the world. So I often use the term sense making as a way of self-regulating, bringing our mental body back to center. There are deep dives throughout this body of work here in Living Resilience. And it's a big part of our community of practice, our deep dive experiential study group, about sense making, and for that matter, about reclaiming center in each of these aspects and others as well. We also consider it very important to include an energy body, which may be very foreign to many folks. It's certainly what I have found after studying and practicing in energy body awareness and the dynamics of it and so on for decades. I still find very few people who really have a sense of that. Like, what is this energy body and how do you do it? And what, yeah. So those are advanced distinctions, and we don't usually talk about them much. One way you can start to get a taste of the easiest way to get a direct experience of the energy body and the dynamics of how important our awareness or perception is with our energy body. They actually affect one another greatly. So one way to have a more direct experience of our energy body is to do this simple guided meditation that we asked you to do last week, called Wider Embraces. It has never ceased to amaze me. I'm watching people who have never heard of an energy body. They just aren't all that familiar with guided meditations and so on. And it's so darn simple. But I have seen people who are completely unaware of the energy body's dynamics or distinctions about them, or how to activate it, or how to be present to it. They find themselves effortlessly describing what is clearly an energetic or an energy body dynamic as they're experiencing this Wider Embraces guided meditation. So that's hopefully another nudge for you to go ahead and dive into that Wider Embraces pre-recorded Wider Embraces pre-recorded guided meditation. And if you want to get really into it, there are a number of those Wider Embraces sessions that are done live every week. So those are available, in an available schedule of those are in the events section here in the Living Resilience community space. So the last of the 5 bodies that I mentioned is the soul body. And this is another one that is not immediately clear because the word soul has many meanings for many different religions and bodies of work and philosophies and so on. Um, Really, the easiest, simplest way I can describe my relationship with soul that I bringing that bringing that soul body distinction to you is our felt sense of connectedness with the web of life through this body and through these bodies and their center, and that it has a very special set of dynamics and attributes that for me don't have any religious connotations. You're welcome to bring yours along if you have them. But really, what I know about my relationship with this soul body is that when I am in that felt sense of center, of home in this body, that and so that sense of center is expansive and includes my relationship with earth. That there is a sense of meaning, of belonging, and a deep sense of connectedness with the web of life itself. So that is my experience of soul and soul work. One of the dynamics that's most clear for me in doing that soul work is connected with this actual practice we've been doing today, as simple as it is. When we cue ourselves to a deeper body awareness, to a deeper awareness of center and interconnectedness, when we slow down the pace of our thinking, the pace of our breathing, the pace of our speaking, we have far more permeability to a direct felt sense of what I would call soul. I'm going to leave it there. There's so much richness to be explored. I'd be so curious if any of you were to bring to the conversation area in the Collateral Beauty support group area, which is in the group area, whereas this course material is in the course area. Heck, wherever you would like to post anything you'd like to share about work that you are doing at the soul level or any of the levels that we are offering here in Collateral Beauty, please do. Please share. I'm fascinated at the depth and breadth of the various practices and traditions that people bring from their own life experience into this work. So you are heartily, warmly invited to share whatever lineages you have known, whatever practices you've found valuable. And this is it for our session number 2, this Saturday session number 2, group practice for Collateral Beauty. Hope this has been valuable for you. And again, I really look forward to any feedback, any of the posting you would like to do to share what you find valuable, both in this work and that you bring from your life. And possibly see you next Tuesday, or possibly in a safe circle call any Tuesdays, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time every Tuesday. And you can sign up to receive the weekly invitations that also include a couple of provocative and hopefully informative and delightful videos for you to watch and be inspired with when you show up to Safe Circle Call. You are warmly invited to do that. And I will put the link to signing up for the Safe Circle Invitations Weekly in the show notes, along with some other juicy little tidbits in the show notes for this video. So thank you for watching this recording, and hope to bump into you soon here in Living Resilience. Welcome to another recorded live event supporting our most recent Living Resilience introductory course, Collateral Beauty. This course, designed to challenge and resource both newcomers and the very experienced in the Collapse-Aware and Collapse-Acceptant communities. Each recording in this series is from either the Saturday or Tuesday online Zoom gatherings intended to deepen an embodied and shared experience of this inner work of collapse in the course called Collateral Beauty.